Calling to order the regular meeting of the Plan Commission for Thursday, May 9th, 2019. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Blanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Creech.
Present.
Commissioner Kalis.
Good evening.
Commissioner Powers is here. Commissioner Yednek.
Here.
And Chairman Johnson.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda this evening?
At this moment, no. We may ask for certain items to be pushed later into the meeting if there are no representatives here when they're originally called.
Very well. Citizens' concerns and comments?
Nope.
See none? So we'll move on to the consent items. Docket number SCBA 19-15, ETI solid state lighting, 720 Northgate Parkway, appearance approval of a wall sign.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Kalis. Roll call.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Yednek.
Yes.
And Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Items for review. Docket number PC 19-6. It's continued from the April 28, 2019 meeting for Fresh Farms at 20 South Milwaukee Avenue, minor site plan and appearance approval. Mr. Jennings, anything?
Is there a representative of the petition here?
No, we do not.
I would ask that we push this off to later in the meeting in the event that they are just running late.
Okay, we'll move on to docket number PC 19-10, which was continued from the April 25th. That would be April 28th also, wouldn't it?
It should be.
April 28th meeting. CMX Theater, 401 West Dundee Road in the Wheeling Town Center, minor site plan and appearance approval. Do we have anyone from CMX?
Anyone here to represent that item? Similarly, I would suggest that we push that off to later in the meeting.
Okay, moving right along.
That's great.
This is easier than I remember it being.
Yeah. Docket number 2019-6, A, B, C, and D for Vequity /711, 14 North Elmhurst Road. 2019-6A is a variance to reduce minimum side setback. 6B is a variance to reduce minimum parking setback. 6C is a variance to reduce minimum canopy setback. And 6D is a variance to reduce setback for a freestanding sign. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Docket numbers 2019-6A, B, C, and D. Vequity contract purchaser seeking the following variations for the construction of a new gas station and convenience store at 14 North Elmhurst Road, Wheeling, Illinois, which is Zone B3, General, Commercial, and Office District. 2019-6A, a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-06, Commercial Districts and associated sections to permit a reduction in the minimum side yard setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, and 2019-6B, a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-06, Commercial Districts and associated sections to permit a reduction in the minimum parking setback from 10 feet to 6.5 feet, and 2019-6C, a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-10 use regulations and associated sections to permit a reduction in the minimum setback for the canopy over the fuel pump islands from 25 feet to 18.5 feet, and 2019-6D, a variation from Title 21 signs in Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 21-06 commercial and industrial districts and associated sections to reduce the required front setback for a replacement freestanding sign to 3 feet. Standards for a variation. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why the request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for a variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, anything on this one?
No, not at this time.
All right, is the petitioner here?
All right.
Hey, we finally got one.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
My name is Ivan. I'm with the developer Vequity.
We will need to swear you in, right?
Yes.
So-
Anybody else be speaking?
Yeah, will anybody else be speaking on this? All right, raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, your name and business
Name is
address.
Ivan, I-V-A-N. Last name Nokov, N-O-C-K-O-V. The company is called Vequity, and we are the developer.
Okay. Go ahead and present what you want to talk about.
Thank you. So we're very excited to present this project. It's right on the intersection. It's an existing gas station. We're demolishing the existing gas station. We are taking all the tanks. We're doing environmental remediation. We are building a new station, new improvements, new gas tanks, basically new everything. So we have already went through all the work with our engineer. We're going through the LOMA requirements that the city has and FEMA have. So we're also addressing all the IDOT comments that we have from the from IDOT. As you can see, the site plan. We're basically proposing 4 pumps with a convenience store. It's about 3,000 square feet store. And excuse me, we were running to get here. We are, again, as I said, all new improvements, all new utilities, water, storm, sewer. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. This is a public hearing, but right now we're just going to focus on the variances first, and we'll get to the site use as a separate item. So is there anyone who wants to talk about the variances?
Briefly, as a procedural matter,
Yes.
the item in front of you is a series of variations under docket 2019-6 that were just read in by the secretary. It is, there's not a request for a special use associated with this. There is an existing special use. The special use legislation, if it were to be, if the site plan items are to be approved and the variations associated with this are to be approved, ultimately the legislation for that special use would be revised to reflect the new variations in the new site plan materials. So procedurally speaking, you are talking about a series of variations related to the setback of the canopy, the building, and the sign.
Okay, but these folks would like to say something about...
Absolutely. I just want to make sure that the topic of discussion is related to the variations themselves.
Right. Okay, so we hold off on this and give them a chance?
No, I would still call them to make sure, see if they have any comments, since they did
Okay.
sign in for the public hearing.
All right, David Aguilar? Step up. And do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I have nothing, I have nothing to say. I
Okay.
just came here to see what's,
Oh, okay,
so,
all right. Grace Bastone?
I didn't realize it was just for all the setbacks today. I thought it was for the site plan
We'll get
also.
to it.
We'll get
It's
to
just
that.
not
Yeah,
right now. We have to do
But
it.
that's really not a public hearing per se, because.
Okay, that's, I know it's just variation. That's just what I found
Right.
out right now. So I don't think that this may be the time for me to say anything, except 3,000 square foot store may affect our store, which is B&L Liquors, right kitty corner from the site plan or from the proposed change in the gas station service. If it's going to be a liquor commission that maybe we'll have to go to if they're thinking about putting liquor in, we surely would like to know
Yeah,
about that.
that would be completely separate
I know
from
it's
us.
completely separate, but that is it's all of our concerns, okay?
Okay, very good.
That's what it was.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Dominic, I'm not sure on the last name. Vargas. Okay. And Donna Bastone, same thing? Okay. Okay, that one easy. So, guess we can go right to the commission. Let's start with Commissioner Creech.
I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Blanova.
I do have a question, thank you.
Okay,
Can you, give me just a moment.
yeah.
Can you show us on this plan where exactly you're asking for variation? So we will have a clearer picture of what it's going to affect.
So currently, we have variation in the back of our building. We also have variation on the north of the building. And there's also variation as far as the canopy, the distance from the canopy to the property line. And I forget.
Which property line?
What, the fueling canopy,
Which property line?
the north property line.
North, okay.
Yes, and I forget the last one, I'm sorry.
The sign setback?
Sign setback as well, yes.
And just to clarify, when they say
Yeah.
side setback, that's actually the back of their building?
Yeah, that's what, because it's pretty big variation, so that's why I wanted to clarify where exactly
Yeah.
it's going to be. Okay, I don't have any comments right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Yednek.
Yeah, I just had a question about the submitted documents. Something was confusing to me. There's a section where they say, describe how the alleged difficulty of hardship has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. And the final statement in that said, the hardship is a result of actions taken by the applicant. Was that supposed to read the hardship is not a result of actions taken by the applicant?
I would say logically, yes. That would make more sense. It may have been a copy and
It was
paste.
just,
Well, it's copy and pasted throughout the document, so I'm just saying, it seemed to me that it should say that they didn't do anything.
We did not
to cause the
yeah.
hardship. Okay, I just wanted to clarify, because it would confuse me when I read it. That was kind of all I had. Otherwise, I understood everything you're planning on doing.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you very much, and that's an interesting question. I would contest that perhaps the plan that you've presented is creating a hardship because so just to clarify, the reason that we're asking for variances is because the building is bigger, because 7-Eleven is just bigger than the existing and you're moving it, and that's basically the reason for this.
I would say that it's not driven so much by the size of the building. Rather, when it comes to 7-Eleven, they have very strict regulations which are driven by safety. So just to give you an example, the fueling truck has to always park on the right-hand side of the tanks.
Okay.
They do not allow extensions to the hoses that fill up the actual tanks.
Got it.
So they also do not allow the truck to actually pass in front of the building. And all of these regulations from their end are driven basically because of safety of all the people on the site, also convenience when it comes to accessing the site. Their fear is if there's a huge tanker truck parked in front of the building, people may be afraid to walk around and jump over hoses and spill a bunch of fuel.
For sure.
So when it comes to the variations, it's mostly driven by that need for the truck to actually go through the site and to then allow the proper spacing between parking and fueling pumps and so forth.
Okay.
So they're very strict about safety, so they would not compromise their safety standards because of.
Great. It's a good thing to be strict about. I'm not saying that you're maliciously creating a hardship because of some ridiculous request, but yeah, if you want to.
I just want to chime in. Can we pull up the existing?
You speak into the microphone, please?
Yeah, and give
Pull up
your
survey.
name and business address, please.
Sure. William Perry with Watermark Engineering. I'm the civil engineer on the property.
Thank you.
If you can see the survey of the existing property, you'll see that we really aren't changing from those setbacks of the existing condition. I know that it was mentioned that maybe the building is bigger. Yes, the building is bigger, but today there's a canopy that's a large canopy as well as the building underneath it and a car wash, and we're removing all of those and we're just putting in the one convenience store. And the setbacks of the proposed site plan are really no different, if you will, than the existing condition.
Okay, that's fair. So, Andrew, I guess, if this is a public hearing, if AutoZone next door, if they had an issue with this, they would have to come and say that there's no permission that they need to ask of AutoZone for encroaching on, because they're going to be closer to the building than the setbacks. Is that all kosher with neighboring buildings, or on the other side with the restaurant?
The public notice, the various forms of public notice that are done cover that.
Okay.
If AutoZone chose not to attend,
Okay.
I've certainly been informed. The public hearing signs are also visible from that store. So.
Okay, cool, great. And then one more question is for Kyle, I suppose. I'm not familiar enough with setback variances to know historically if there's been any issues, like if we were to grant a variance and if in the past the village has granted a variance and then it's become problematic, like that's always my question is giving them 10 feet closer to the back or AutoZone or whatever, is there any experience that you've seen in the past that it's gone bad that, you know, we should consider not approving this because of something?
Not so much to my knowledge. I don't deal with setbacks, you know, at least from the engineering division standpoint. That's more of a planning thing.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of having smaller setbacks would be for drainage, but their engineering site plan seems to address all that.
Okay, so you're good with, okay, cool. I like relying on people smarter than me and just ask questions like that. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only question I have as far as variations is the sign, and it's more of understanding. So the variation, I guess, where does the 10 and the 3 feet? Maybe the petition knows, if not, maybe staff. What is the rule? Is it 10 feet from? I see a heavy line there. It says right of way. Is it 10 feet from the right of way? Where does the 10 feet come in, and how did it get reduced to 3 feet? That's what I want to know.
So the 10 feet, and this is actually the lighting plan, but the bold
Sure.
line here, can you
Yep.
see it? So the sign would be, due to the reconfiguration of the site, they have limited opportunity to locate the sign.
Because of IDOT too also,
The
probably?
combination of
Sure.
both things. So in this case, to move it out of the way, they have elected to place it relatively close to the property line. It is the property line setback, so from the south edge of the sign structure to the property line would be reduced. The zoning code calls for 10 feet. They're proposing a 3-foot setback.
And with the current site that's there now and it's being removed, there is no problem. There was never a variation issue with that, correct? Because it was far enough off the property line?
And I don't believe we actually have a slide of the survey of the existing conditions, but they did have some IDOT taking. It was originally approved with a 10-foot setback. I suspect that at this moment it has less than 10-foot setback, but I don't have the.
I could show you the survey if you want.
No, that's okay. I'm fine with that. Okay, I have the explanation. And the reason that the sign, normally, a lot of times we take the sign in a sign package or consent. The reason the sign is coming before us is because of the variation too. So we not only have the variation, but the sign that's going to be part of that variation is being put in there also, correct?
No, they have to come back for
They have to come back.
The image of the sign that's been included in your materials is a placeholder. It's an illustration of a sign. They recognize that they do have to come back for a full SCBA review of that.
Okay.
There's a condition of approval written into the motion to address that.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, thank you. My only question was also on the sign, just to try and understand why it's being moved from the corner.
So currently, the sign is actually facing both streets.
Correct.
So the way they see signage best for their purposes is if the sign is strictly facing the direction of travel for the main street, in which case would be Dundee.
There's a lot of traffic on Elmhurst Road, and, you know, they're going to be able to see the other sign across the street.
That's true.
It would just seem like it would be a better spot to me.
Is that negotiable at all?
Simply their preference. So all signage would be under a separate permit. So this is probably a conversation for the permitting process for the signage.
If just if I could interject, if the variation is granted, they would have the ability to place the sign at an angle as long as the leading edge of the sign didn't encroach into that 3-foot setback. So if they elect as a corporation to change the angle at that point, they would be limited to the 3-foot setback still.
But that setback is basically off the
Dundee Road?
Yeah, it's off of Dundee Road. It's not in the triangular part.
That's correct.
Made it.
So we would be giving them the okay to put it there, but if they decide that maybe it would be better on the corner,
It's entirely possible that they would need to reapply.
okay.
For the variation.
For that particular variation and let the others go through? So is that a possibility too? We have 4 variations and, you know, all 4 go through and then let's say 1, because the sign, we have an issue with the placement of the sign, we can remove that variation and how does that work? I mean, if we don't like where the sign, possibly, we don't like where the sign's gonna be.
Well, I suppose it depends on how the vote goes.
Okay.
If that particular each variation is listed under its own motion right now. So theoretically, if one of those variations was not approved by the village board ultimately, the other ones could be. But again, it's a hypothetical to see how the vote goes.
Okay.
Because I have a specific question related to the area where that sign could potentially be vacated from. And I guess I'll just say it. I mean, if that sign is going to come out of that area and it's going to be replaced with sod, I was kind of hoping that something could be done on that corner, like a bench or something like that. I wanted to mention it. I don't know if staff thinks there's enough room to do something there, but
Now we're kind of crossing over to the site plan.
yeah, I know, but I have to bring up, that's why I'm questioning, you know, is that the right place for the sign or not? So I guess I could always vote no for the variation and see what happens. Yeah, okay.
Anything else on the variations from the commission? Or Mr. Jennings, anything else?
No, but prior to any consideration of vote and closing the public hearing, there are conditions in at least one of them. So
And we have to vote on each one separately, I presume?
They do have separate motions, yes.
Okay, do we have conditions on 2019-6A?
I believe all the conditions are in D only. I'm just going to double check that.
Wouldn't the variation for the sign be greater the way they have it proposed, so that if we did end up angling it like it is now, that I'm just trying to think if the setback is, if we're asking for a variation of
6.5 feet.
6.5 feet now, isn't that going to be greater than the setback necessary if it's angled? So it would cover.
If I may add,
Yeah.
currently there's more than 3 feet. So if we have the variation for 3 feet, getting up to 3 feet, and then we were to move it further away, we would not be encroaching and asking for more variations.
So how it is now, is angled, is how.
Currently it's angled and
It might be possible that we want it that way, we'll say.
Yeah.
And that setback is not even 6 feet, which is the variation they're asking for. So we're going to approve a variation if it's approved, greater than what it is now. So if in the future we want that sign to be angled, it's going to cut that, I don't know. Or does the variation have to be exact?
I'm curious why we would want it angled or not. I could see from a business perspective.
I'm not even saying
it would be better for them to angle it so
And that's
it's more
all,
visible, but why
that's
would
all
we
I was
push-
pointing out.
Yeah, it's,
It
What's
just
that?
seems like the visibility factor would be better if it was at the corner, but that is their choice.
I was
Yeah,
just
that's
trying to make
all
small
right.
talk.
All right, so there were no conditions on
The-
A, B, or C, correct?
There are no conditions on A, B, or C. There is a condition of approval in the staff motion, staff recommended motion for D. It reads, "The freestanding sign shall be subject to a separate SCBA appearance review and approval prior to the issuance of a permit."
Okay, so do I hear a motion on 2019-6A, variance to reduce minimum side setback?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, we got
I'll second.
Commissioner Yednick and Commissioner Creech.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis,
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, Commissioner Blanova,
Yes,
and Chairman Johnson.
Yes. On 2019-6B, variance to reduce minimum parking setback.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Powers, Commissioner Creech.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
yes,
Commissioner Kalis,
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
and Chairman Johnson.
Yes. On 2019-6C, variance to reduce minimum canopy setback.
So moved.
Second.
Yednick and
Creech.
Creech.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
yes,
Commissioner Kalis,
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And finally, 2019-6D, variance to reduce setback for freestanding sign
With the condition.
with the condition that was read.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Yednick, Commissioner Creech.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
yes,
Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes no, and Commissioner Johnson.
Yes. All right, we will have a bunch of things for you to sign, but we'll move on to the site plan appearance approval. Oh, we do need a motion to close the public hearing part of
So
this.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Is that a voice vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, we'll move on to docket number PC 19-4, again, Vequity 711, 14 North Elmhurst Road. Site plan and appearance approval for a new gas station and convenience store. Mr. Jennings, anything?
One moment to catch up.
Okay.
Just as a general note, the petitioner worked with the village staff for quite some time, refining the site plan and the building appearance. So most of the staff comments have been addressed. There are a couple of notes in the report for your review, but for the most part, the petitioner has adjusted the plan significantly since the initial submittal to staff.
All right, thank you. Anything on the site plan you wish to discuss?
I think that I have already mentioned most of the items, so there's nothing further.
Okay, we'll move back to the commission then. Commissioner Creech,
I have nothing. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Blanova,
I have nothing for this one, thank you.
Commissioner Yednick.
Only question, I'm just looking at the storage, the fuel storage tanks, I don't know, we don't have the drawing up. I'm looking at the geometric plan. The white area above that, that's not a building, that's just
No.
indicating where they're going to be set in the ground?
Concrete.
That's the concrete pad around it.
Oh, it's a concrete pad above it, okay,
Yes.
all right, yeah, so there's not going to be a building right in that corner?
No.
Yeah. No other questions?
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman. No questions.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're basically taking the old tanks out, putting new ones in, and you're doing proper remediation, EPA stuff to it, right?
Correct. We are going after NFR. We are taking all tanks, product lines, pumps, basically everything, and replacing it with all new infrastructure.
Andrew, you talked about a lot of the changes were addressed. Have those changes been reflected in the packet we have?
Yes, they are. The materials you have in front of you are updated following a series of comments by staff.
Great, thank you. Ron, have you gotten you have any concerns with any, like, turning radiuses or anything like that? Are you okay with that?
Given the site and how much space they have to work with and the type of structure it's going to be, it's not optimal, but we can live with it.
Okay. Will you be selling liquor at all?
I don't actually remember. Hang on just 1 second. Yes. Yes.
And let's see, then I got to go to like an internal, there was an internal floor plan in here. How much of an area, I guess is under code, Andrew, are they limited to how much liquor space they have in the store? Do we know?
So just going back about a minute or so, there is no existing liquor license that can be issued in the Village of Wheeling for a location that has fuel sales. So as it is a gas station, they would have difficulty.
Okay, I didn't know. I had asked the question. No, I didn't know. Okay, so that's a no. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Bike rack. Where's the location of the bike rack? Is it by the westernmost
corner of the building? Yes.
Okay, because I saw, I saw it there, but then I also saw a diagram on page 48, I think, of the packet, where is it? Oh, it's like the second drawing down, which is the south elevation. It says bike rack with an arrow by the trash can. Is that depicted right? Is that actually the front of the building? And
could you go to the elevations?
The south elevation on page, yeah. See where the trash, that's weird. Okay, because in my packet, to the right side of the garbage can, it says bike rack with an arrow. I don't see that over here. So is that fixed? And the bike rack is actually on the left side of the building on the south elevation there, which is basically the southwest corner. Okay. So
but the bike rack can move based on
right. So okay. So this is not what's in the packet is not accurate. So it's in the rear. It's in the rear of the building, I guess. Can you indicate? If you're going to put that elevation in there, and the bike rack is actually going to be on the left side there in the south elevation, before it goes to the board, can you put a bike rack in there and just indicate it with an arrow?
Yep.
Okay. You don't have an irrigation plan, and I think we need one. Have you submitted an irrigation plan? Or decided, I mean, we will require an irrigation plan. I don't see one in the package, and
we are going to have an irrigation plan for sure.
So I think we need
condition.
Yeah,
make it a condition.
we're going to need a condition.
There is one in the draft motion.
Okay.
Addressing that.
All right. So my last question was related to the sign variation. So if in effect you do get to move the sign, the southeast corner of the lot's going to be sod. Can we do anything? Can we do anything with that corner since it's going to be sod? Can the village use it in any way? Like put a couple of benches in there? I mean, we talked maybe possibly water features. Anything? Can anything be done to that corner without looking at sod? Could somebody look into it? Because I think I don't even know if there's enough land to do anything, but there is an opportunity to do something on that corner, I believe.
There's a, just from the village standpoint, looking at the plan that you see right now, which is, I believe, the landscape plan, the area that's actually owned by the petitioner is shaded in gray here. So the sod from this area into the northwest is on the property. This area here would be in the IDOT right-of-way.
Okay.
And what they have done with their landscape plan is concentrate the landscaping along Dundee and along Elmhurst, allowing visibility through the corner. So
Okay.
it was an intentional design, as far as I understand.
No,
to
and
open
it's
the corner.
fine. I just asked the question, so I appreciate that comment. That's fine. With that, I have nothing else.
Thank you. So the tanks, you're going to pull those out and they're going back the same location that they are now, right? I mean, is that where they exist?
Currently, actually, the tanks are on the north side between the Canopy and the car wash.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually moving them away from the north side of the property.
Okay. That's really all I had. Anything else from the commission before we?
Yeah, I just, when Commissioner Powers was talking, the sidewalks are all going to remain the same dimensionally? Are they encroaching any on the sidewalks with this new plan?
I'm trying to just flip through. I don't believe anything is being modified with respect to the sidewalk.
Other than the
Kyle, do you know if
one
there's a
connecting-
replacement of the southwest corner on this?
I think at the southwest corner, they're doing a little modification because there is a walkway that goes from the IDOT sidewalk north into the building. So they're going to be, looks like modifying that slightly, but it's pretty minimal. Most of the stuff should be the same.
One square maybe going north from the Dundee sidewalk, is that what I'm seeing here?
Design engineer might have a little bit more insight on that.
It's actually a little bit more than that. It's almost from the driveway to the property line to the west.
Okay.
And the reason for that is there's an existing water main there that we need to get to for our proposed utilities, and so we have to go in and replace it, and we didn't want to take a little bit. We wanted to make it all so it's uniform and new.
So on the, this is the photometric plan. On this plan, is it more or less this segment here?
Yes.
Oh, that, you're putting a curve in the sidewalk, is that what they're saying there?
I believe there's an existing curve.
Yes, there is.
Oh, I mean, so I guess the existing property is using the property lines and they're not exceeding the property lines, then, right? There's.
So to do some utility work, they have to go outside the property line.
Yeah, okay, all right. I walk up and down that area a lot, so I just didn't want to lose my sidewalks.
No, we're really replacing it back in place.
And you don't remember turning there?
And that curve, no, I'm following the dog.
You will now.
Anything else, anyone? All right. Then, Mr. Jennings, read the conditions we have.
I sure can. I just want to clarify, the petitioner, you did answer that you did understand the liquor licensing regulations in Wheeling.
Yes, so we are the developer, so the tenant is going to be applying for all permitting, business permits and so forth.
And they have no intention of applying for a liquor license, given that it doesn't exist for a gas station at this point, correct?
As far as I'm aware, they have no issue with it.
Okay. The conditions of approval, there's a single condition on the PC 19-4 docket. Currently, it reads, prior to the issuance of a building permit, an irrigation plan shall be submitted for staff review and approval. Is there a need for any condition based on the discussion of the bicycle rack location?
No, as long as
I don't
they,
think
if they could just indicate it on the south elevation in the rear. If you know, if that, I don't know.
Note it
That's getting
somehow.
picky, I guess, but.
All right, with that, do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Kalis, Commissioner Creech.
Mr. Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, Commissioner Yednek,
Yes.
and Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Now we will have a lot of things for you to say.
I got the vote wrong on that. Change this vote. I'll reprint that one. We can start with these.
Okay.
Forward to this. We closed 2019, 6.
Okay.
We closed public hearing. I didn't mark all of them as closed. Steve gave me.
Let's see.
You come sign for this, please.
B.
There's 2 copies of each one. You have 5 total votes.
You got more coming?
Let's see.
This is C.
Yeah, you got D.
No, this is not D. I'm missing
D.
D. There, okay.
I'll take D while you're doing that.
All right. Sloppier all the time.
I don't even look.
Which one? I don't think so, not in this case. The village item can go on. It's me.
Where are we at?
I don't have a C.
This is C.
Steve gave me this sheet for all 5. I don't know how he would have pulled that off with the votes. I'll have to ask him what he's been doing.
Feel like you're buying a car?
So I had to like copy the file over and over again.
Last one.
To the new guy. That's what I did for No.
That's true.
This one shouldn't take long.
Both of them should have.
I know.
Yours.
I told him.
All 5 of these would be forwarded to the village board for review. One of us will be in touch with you regarding the date. I would imagine it will probably be within the next meeting or 2. So just check in with us and we'll work with you on making sure that you're available for that night.
What?
And then have a number of papers for NWD.
Yeah.
Those, if you have them on you, you can give them to Kyle right now.
Anything else?
Nope.
Not at this point. So
Thank you.
We'll go back to the A and B. A and B.
all right.
So which one do we
We're
go
going
to?
to backtrack now to item 7A, docket number PC 19-6, continued from April 28th, 2019 meeting. Fresh Farms, 20 South Milwaukee Avenue, minor site plan and appearance approval. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, how are you?
All right. So what do you have new for us?
I left it down here.
Show it to me.
It's the color.
Not the big thing.
This is on the rear, I assume, to match the. I was assuming he'd have a sample of the beam and, anyway, I don't know what we're comparing it to.
Just by way of brief introduction, this item was tabled at the April 28th meeting in order for the petitioner to respond to some of the concerns raised by the commission. The petitioner presented the item and discussed with the commission some additional changes that differed from the plans that were in the packet. The item was tabled in order for the petitioner to work with the architect to have the plans updated to reflect what had been discussed. What you have in the packet for tonight reflects all of the items that were discussed. The petitioner's plan to increase the vestibule to a double, again, given the appearance of pulling the theme of the facade toward the street, allowing both an area for cart return and cart storage, as well as the public and customers to go in and out of the store. The only concern that staff had, which is noted in the report, is that there are existing bollards at the site, and staff's suggestion is to have the new bollards match the existing ones so it would be consistent appearance. Other than that, in our review and discussions with the petitioner, we felt that all of the items, both in the front of the store and the rear of the store, had been addressed. And if you have any additional comments, please feel free to present.
No.
Did he cover it all?
I think Andrew does a very good job.
All right, if you have nothing else to add, we'll go through the commission. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the only thing I want to just double check is the existing sidewalk in the front is 19 feet, and we're using the extensions coming out 12 feet 6, so we still got 6'6" for a sidewalk. Is that right, Andrew? I just want to make sure.
Yes, that's correct. It's hard to see on this, but that is the space before you would actually step into the drive lane in front of the store.
Okay, I have nothing else.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, I'm not imagining it, but from the drawings from the last time, you're now extending 2 awnings, correct?
Well, what happened the last time, you guys or Andrew made a very good suggestion to give me elevations to look at it. So you thought you would do one, but when you look at the elevations, it didn't look quite symmetrical.
No, I mean, I went back and looked at their old packet, and in the old packet, you were just bringing 1 awning forward, and now you're bringing 2 awnings forward, and you're going to include shopping cart storage?
Correct.
I don't have an objection to it. I just wanted to make sure that,
yes.
that I'm seeing.
I just think it looks better with 2 instead of 1.
Okay. And so now it shows that there's going to be a manual door on the east end. There's going to be power doors in the beginning, and then the cart storage is all going to be closed off.
Correct.
All right. That's all I had.
Thank you. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question on the photo that's involved or included in our package. Shows a couple of street light poles on the front elevation. I'm assuming that those are incorporated in the new awning, so they're going to be removed and you're not going to replace them. Is that correct? Because those are really nice, really nice looking.
Yeah, backyard.
We're going to take the lights off the wall, off the building, and bring it forward. And maybe I haven't really looked. Maybe we could figure out some. I have them, so I'm going to see if I can figure out some place to put them in the shopping center. No reason to scrap them, but
because I just didn't see. I'd hate to see you lose them as well.
They're very nice lights. If I could figure out where to put them, I will put them.
That's the only question I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm waiting for Andrew to give me a little direction. I figure he's better at this than I am.
I'll come back out there.
They might be in his driveway then. Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman. So on the east elevation of the doors, it is going to be an automatic door, not a manual, right? In the drawing it is, like the sensors, or no?
On the east side?
Yeah.
I think on the east side.
The not cart side.
I'm torn.
Okay,
right now I have a manual, but I'm torn because if you open the east, the north,
you open too many and you're going to almost, dilute the reason why you're putting the vestibule on to begin with, so. But at the same time, I want people, in case they want to go out that way, to have an ability to go, so I'm probably going to make a manual.
Can you go to the other rendering where it shows the vestibule east? Yeah, right there. So I don't care either way. I know last time you said that automatic doors are much more expensive and you wanted to weigh the options there. I just want you to clarify what it is. So the drawing shows automatic doors here on the east elevation and then no doors on the west.
Right.
What Commissioner Yednick, I think, just said was manual doors on the west, which there's no doors in the picture. I just want to make sure what you're doing is represented by the packet when you take it to the board.
Right. Right now, I am planning to put a manual door on the east side.
Okay.
And no door on the west.
Okay.
Power door on the north.
Right, okay. Can you update the drawing to represent that so there's no confusion?
I know that, but yeah, I can.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What we see here is not what you just said. So I was just match up what your desire is. So that there's no confusion. I think it's a good idea to double it with the carts.
Or you know what, that's what I'm saying. Maybe I'll put two double manual doors where you can bring in the carts, maybe like that.
I assume that's what he said, and I assume that's why. But the drawing shows no door, so then you said there was a manual door.
No, I'm saying put it on the east side, put two doors like that, because I like it with two doors, so you can open them up and bring the carts in and then close them. But manually rather than automatically.
I personally don't care what you do with the doors. I just would like you to clarify what is being done so that we and the board know. That's all. So, and then I think Andrew mentioned the bollards were going to match the other ones, right? You're good on that?
That was the staff suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, so I guess, are you interested in just matching the existing bollards with the same material? We would advise that you do so that there's cohesion.
Perfectly fine.
Okay.
If I can find the same ones.
Because if you're planning to do something totally different and, it would be a whole thought for us. But if you're just going to match the existing, I'm okay with the existing, so just do that again.
Well, it's 8 years old, so hopefully I can find the same ones or something close.
Okay.
Sometimes you try to match them and you actually makes them worse than just going different. So, if I could get the same ones, definitely.
Or get new covers for all of them or whatever the case may be. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Can I add a comment?
Sure.
From a safety standpoint, honestly, I would think if instead of walking right on the road, if customers can walk out on the side, that would be safer. That way, they're not going to get hit by a car. I still think it's way too close to the road.
6.5 feet?
Well, according to the west elevation, you can put like two people, not even, you walk out basically almost on the road. And if they would have a chance to, we'll have the door to walk out on the side, more than enough time to see them, nobody walking out on the road. It's just a suggestion.
Well, I took the suggestion, I forget which member.
I just know my troublemaker will just run out right on on the road.
I'm saying last time we were here, somebody said to put a stop sign there. And you know what, I showed Andrew, I already put it in.
Yeah,
and I thought that was good, you probably should have had it all along. So I went and put that in already.
Well, I think the drawing also shows that you're marking a pedestrian crossing, so it's going to be, the pavement will be marked also.
Right.
Well, sometimes it gets very busy, which is good, but it gets very busy there.
If you have a stop sign, a pedestrian crossing, you can only do so much.
Yeah, I know, but liability.
Then you come out from the side, and then you really don't see it, and kid runs out, think it's...
It was just a suggestion. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I really had nothing that hasn't been covered already. What, if any, I know we have some conditions on this.
Yes, just 1 second, please.
Okay.
The condition from the staff report reads, pedestrian bollards installed in front of the vestibule addition shall match the existing bollards installed on the subject site. We can, of course, work with the store owner to go the other way as well if it's not possible to locate it. The suggestion of getting these covers are plastic, they can be probably just replaced right over it if he's not able to find that. So we understand the intent.
You
I
need to
don't think-
reword the condition to allow.
Andrew, I don't think they're plastic. They're metal.
It's all metal? Okay.
Yeah, they are covers over the ballard, but they are metal.
Okay. So right now it's written as pedestrian bollards installed in front of the vestibule shall match the existing bollards installed on the subject site. I think we can modify that slightly so that either
way.
possible solution is available to them. And number two, pavement markings for pedestrian crossing are added near the north entrance. As he had represented, the stop sign is already there, stop bar hasn't been added yet, and the hatched crosswalk he's planning on doing. So just to clarify that that's intended to be part of this, we'll note that.
All right.
Anything else?
Any other questions from the commission?
Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Powers and Commissioner Kalis. Roll call.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick?
Yes.
And Chairman Johnson.
Yes. We'll have something for you to sign.
Thank you.
You brought your big sample. We didn't even get to talk about it.
Thanks for the samples.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for the samples.
Can I have who made and seconded that again, please?
I made it and
Kalis.
Commissioner Kalis seconded.
Thank you. Excuse me? Is your car okay?
No, it's just a flat tire.
There you go. Nice.
Can you stick around for a minute after the yard meeting? Just want to talk about what's coming
Brad.
next for,
State of the Union address, I think.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, you get to take these home with you. There's yours.
Thank you.
do you need the sample? Normally, we would keep it to check it later. Okay.
There's yours.
Terry wants it.
New paperweight. Paperweight.
He's outside.
He's out.
Oh.
Brad.
Brad?
Brad. Calling docket number PC 19-10, continuing from April 28th, 2019 meeting. CMX Theater, 401 West Dundee Road within the Wheeling Town Center. Minor site plan and appearance approval. Good evening, sir. Mr. Jennings, anything?
At the April 28th meeting, the petitioner had presented materials. The commission had concerns regarding the materials. Since that time, we've been working with the architect for the theater building to find a material that would blend with the wall material on the exterior of the building. The sample of it is actually there if you want to, Brad, if you're able to pass that. So it's an integrated color. It's not a painted. It's a very dense block, so it's not very porous compared to the split face block of years ago. So it's a fairly dense material, and the intention would be to not paint it and just use this to blend with the exterior of the building. The only note that staff had from the review of this was the petitioner had indicated that they are absolutely willing to install a cap. The cap isn't represented, so I believe we had a condition of approval suggesting that they add a cap to it. So beyond that, we had no concern We had no concern with it.
So you just want to put a cap on the top?
Coping, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I saw that note. Did you relay that message to Tom?
Tom Rail and Steve had been communicating back and forth, and last I heard from Mr. Rail was that he was totally willing to put a cap on it.
Okay.
Isn't that fairly typical with something like this?
Well, I don't know if it's fairly typical. I know that he's been willing to make the modifications to keep you guys happy. So I'm sure they'll go along with that.
Okay, Commissioner Kalis, anything on this?
Thank you, Chairman. Does this gray charcoal match any of the colors in not even the lower third, but any of that other stuff exactly, or?
So the CMX palette of colors is 9 different materials of a premium CMU.
Okay.
So
One of them will match.
Is this the 10th?
no, there is a dark gray in the pattern that you can see. They have a mixture of the dark gray, the light gray, the medium gray, and they all come in whether it's brushed, polished, or different categories. So I do remember that when Tom made his presentation, there was a large board with a lot of different items. So yes, you will find one that matches.
Okay, great.
This.
I wasn't here for that, so I was just looking to clarify.
There is a lot of dark gray in our paving. We do have a lot of dark gray on the residential building as well.
Okay.
So I do believe that will work very well with the other colors of the town center.
Okay, thanks for helping with the adjustment, and thanks for coming. That's it for me.
All right, Commissioner Creech?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Blanova?
I have nothing on this one, thank you.
Commissioner Powers?
So it's not split face CME, or is it still?
That
Yes.
material right there is.
This is a split face.
Okay.
I think they were going to do the painted, but you guys said no, right?
Okay.
Right. So,
The color is integrated into the.
All right. No questions?
okay.
Commissioner Yednick?
Just clarifying what you just said earlier about a cap. Did you say they will be installing a cap? I mean, I would think that a brick wall would have some kind of finished cap, not just end in
I'm kind of
block.
just getting brought up to speed, but it sounds like staff members have had a conversation with the architect about adding a cap. And so the cap is not currently on the drawings, but that we could approve this with a condition so long as a cap is added to it, which it sounds
Okay,
like.
I thought you said that you didn't think they would agree, so I just.
No. I'm saying that they would. It sounds like Tom has already given.
So the architect for the project is based out of New York, so we have conversations with him when he flies in, and we have occasional phone conversations with him, and he has indicated that he's absolutely willing to install a cap for this to finish off the top of the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think all the tops of the walls are going to be finished somehow. Yeah, that's all I had.
Is it going to be a stone cap or a metal?
We talked with him, I believe, regarding a flexibility. I don't think that we had a final design on it. He's totally in agreement with finishing it off. If there's a preference for it to be like a fake stone, he sounded like he was willing to do whatever.
Actually, the trash enclosure that they built in front of the Starbucks would be a standard, I would feel, that could be used throughout the village of Wheeling, the way that was built. So that one does have the stone cap.
And
the
really,
metal doors.
really strong foundation.
And really strong, yes, exactly.
Do you recall?
So it
Mr.
could be a
Peebles,
standard for the village, so I would think that We should try and embrace that.
There's high praise for you, Brad.
I'm giving all the credit to my architect on that one. I'm not taking any credit for that one. I'm going to pass that on. So, but thanks.
If the rest of the commission is in agreement, just to provide some direction on the nature of the cap, the condition could be modified to read, top cap shall be added to the trash enclosure walls prior to the issuance of a building permit utilizing the example of the building A enclosure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a minor, so it's not even.
What is on the building A enclosure? Is it
Oh, the
just
Starbucks on the top of their
fake limestone
trash
kind of?
enclosure? I can't remember off the top of my
I
head.
think it is a fake limestone, but I don't want to commit them to it. But if the idea of it is acceptable, I think we can just work with them on matching what was used for the cap on the other one.
Okay.
Sure.
So that's the only conditions. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Kalis, Commissioner Powers.
Commissioner Kalis.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yes.
And Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
All right.
Congrats.
By the way, congratulations.
Well,
There's
I'm
not-
still pro town
Oh.
officially.
Okay.
Congratulations to Jim.
Yeah,
being a new
congratulate
trustee.
Jim.
Yes.
I'm still renting the gavel.
And Andrew got promoted too.
Yeah, we put Andrew to work for a change.
Been a long time since you've
surprised
sat in that chair,
I'm
right?
surprised I still remember how to do any of it.
You're doing great. You too, Brad.
How's Brooke doing?
She's doing well. Tell her you said hello.
How long has she been on maternity leave now?
I'll send you the full update.
Okay, that's not appropriate to discuss yet. Just this one?
Yeah, it's 2 copies of the same thing, and you can take one of them with you.
Congratulations on another successful trash enclosure.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Back on track here with 7E, docket number 2019-10, continued from April 11, 2019 meeting. Village of Wheeling text amendment to sign code. Mr. Jennings, and I believe we have
There is one.
an audience member on this one.
Thank you. I was not actually previously sworn in because I was not representing the village at that meeting, so I should probably be sworn in as this is a public hearing.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
I do. Andrew Jennings, Director of Community Development on behalf of the Village of Wheeling. The public hearing was originally opened at the, April 11th meeting. Thank you. At the April 11th meeting, the commission had indicated some concern that the way that the amendment to the sign code was phrased might open up the possibility of signage being located in places that might not be appropriate. If it was tied only to the approval of a special use, any approved special use, regardless of the zoning district, would be potentially able to apply for and receive approval to install an electronic message center. So as you can see in your packet, staff has adjusted the language of the amendment to address that concern, as well as provide the list of potential EMC sign permit holders by district. Just to specifically address the question regarding limitations as discussed by the Plan Commission at the previous hearing. If you look on the 3rd page of the staff report, the text has been modified here to note that it would be religious assembly uses in buildings greater than 2,500 square feet, thus reducing the likelihood that a small church, for example, within the middle of a residential area could apply for an EMC. To further address the concern, the next sentence has been modified as well. The last sentence of the paragraph, message shall not consist of sound or flashing. The new text after that reads, functions of the display may be further restricted based on the proximity of the electronic message center to residential properties, subject to SCBA appearance review. So in the event that you did have a location that's otherwise eligible for installation of an electronic message center, it would still need an SCBA permit, and the restrictions could be added at the time of the SCBA review. For example, relating to certain functions of the EMC to be in character with the area where it's located.
So they could limit the time that it's on?
Yes, yes.
Brightness?
Require automatic dimmers.
Yes, there could be limitations on time. Nothing related to the content of the display, but the time of the display and the light emitted from the sign, particularly at night.
That was the SCBA you were talking about?
If such a sign were applied for, the Plan Commission, acting as the SCBA, could at that time impose a restriction on the hours of operation for the EMC based on the location of it, so that it would be appropriate for the character of that location. Are there any questions for the staff? There is someone who has signed up to speak on the public hearing.
Is that square footage large enough? I mean, 2,500 square feet, we have houses that could fall into that.
It's based on the relationship to the zoning code. So there's a allowance in the zoning code for religious assembly to be a permitted use up to a certain size in certain zoning districts. So this is designed to be consistent with that threshold.
Okay.
So you want to
Mr. Styland.
Yeah, no. Then you're going to go around us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I was sworn in the last time. Do I need to be sworn in again?
No, sir.
No swearing.
Alrighty. I like the direction that you guys are going. I think the problem that I have, though, is with the following statement, and that was the kind of change you made to the addition of the just a permitted use, that the functions of the display may be further restricted based upon the proximity of the electronic message center to residential properties, subject to SCBA appearance review. And it's my understanding that as proposed and with the functioning of the SCBA, that you have the final approval for all SCBA functions. That means you would be the final approval authority for EMC matters. And my question is, because you're the final authority and you make restrictions or approvals or denials or whatever, and those are the final matters, is there any provision of being overruled or directed to the village board based upon the decision, the final decision that you make? I don't know if it's true, but can that decision, the final decision that you make, be overruled by the village board? I'd like to know what they can overrule, what they can't. Can they send it back?
Procedurally speaking, the village board could, I believe, could hear an appeal on something that was denied. I don't know if you're double checking that right now,
Yes,
but I believe.
an appeal from a plan commission decision on signage shall be heard by the village board of trustees.
So they could appeal any decision that you make.
I suppose that would apply not only to a denial, but to a condition that
or restriction or, sure. Right. Okay, just so you understand that. Again, as proposed, because you guys are making it a permitted use, that's my understanding, somebody can come in and just plop up a sign. Maybe you have to come back for SCBA approvals, whatever, but that's still without any public knowledge. If you were to make it a special use, that petitioner would be required to notify adjacent residences, whatever they are, that something is coming, and it may be, I don't want to say obnoxious, but there may be a need for them to come in and make some testimony about timeliness, brightness, color, flashing, whatever. I would really think that if you're going to do something in a residential area, having it be a special use and having the requirement to be notified, whatever it is, 200 and some odd feet away from the property would be a reasonable thing to ask. So again, special use just makes it a little bit easier to fit into a residential area. Now, I'll go and extend my comments a little bit, but we're talking about a residential area. But what happens if there's a hospital right next door, or a nursing home, or an assisted living building, someplace where residents typically sleep at night, and now there happens to be a church next door, and their sign, be it not in a residential area, and the guy, the senior center, the sleeping people are not in a residential area, can those signs be restricted in the same way that we're restricting things for residential areas? I know I would be annoyed if I was in a hospital or a senior center or something and there were lights flashing. Oh, excuse me, flashing isn't allowed. But changes, subtle changes in brightness were happening that might annoy me. You know, so maybe we should extend those EMC restrictions a little bit to cover areas where the EMC might be in proximity of residents who are sleeping, not on residential property, but on other commercial type properties. So the other thing is, what is flashing? It used to be originally, Andrew, you were probably there back then, when flashing was a pretty well-known term, right? You'd have letters that would light up, change color, maybe change frequency, but would change. The concept of EMC signs have changed dramatically over the years, and now we have the potential of full motion type of signs. Brightness of those full motion signs, well, maybe not flashing, but change at 60 cycles per second so it doesn't appear to flash, but we all know if you watch TV, right, there's brightness and dimness and stuff, and that changes almost instantaneously. It's not, I think, by definition, flashing, but the intensity of the image changes rapidly. I think maybe you need to discuss, because you talked about flashing, what really is a new technology definition of flashing. I'd really like to think that maybe you ought to have a workshop on this subject to discuss a lot more issues about that technology. I would really recommend that it be a special use for residential area, but I think there's some things that maybe need to be expanded on EMCs, especially because we do have a religious assembly in town that is immediately adjacent to a senior place of potentially sleeping residents, so.
If they ever open, yes.
So that's my comments, so thank you for the time.
Thank you. Any comments from you, Andrew?
No, I think-
Or Mallory, as far as the legality?
You know, I think just generally speaking, as technology changes, the sign code does need to keep up with it. The village staff is working with the village attorneys on a larger change, a more comprehensive amendment to the sign code, mostly for legal purposes, to keep up to date with land use law as it applies to signage. So this topic can, of course, be revisited at that time. There is a pending petition that has been in the works where there was an option to apply for a variation. Village staff felt that given the circumstances of this particular petition, it probably made more sense as an amendment to the code rather than a variation request. So that is why it's in front of you as it is. Staff is totally willing to work to look with our larger comprehensive amendment to the sign code to make sure that we're keeping up with pace of technological advances here.
Commissioner Powers, any comments?
Yeah, I'm just, when Shira Hadash got their sign, was that part of our packet, or did that come to us?
That was separate.
Was that
It came as a separate, it was not.
It wasn't consent, right?
A couple of years after they opened, actually.
No, and it, my recollection of it was, yes, it was a couple of years, it was after they opened, or at least after the construction was done. But yeah, it was not part of the original pack.
Well, yeah, okay.
They didn't take down the other sign until
Next review was
Whitley
from
started.
here.
Yes, it
The
did.
appearance of the sign you would have approved.
Yes, it came through the SCBA review.
It went through
It's in the-
SCBA and would have been on consent agenda unless someone pulled it off.
Which sign are you referencing?
The Shir Hadash one on Dundee.
One you
As
can
an
see from
EMC.
here.
It's not in a residentially zoned area, so it's permitted.
So,
Shir Hadash. The temple.
related to the EMCs, can EMCs come to us on consent?
Not typically. So for a larger freestanding sign, they typically don't come to you on consent. Usually what you're seeing on consent are going to be wall signs more often than not. But a freestanding sign with an EMC in it, I don't believe we've sent one on consent yet.
Is it possible to put, is there a way to say at least when we have an EMC in front of us that it should not come through on consent?
Well, we can always request it be taken
Pulled?
off of consent.
Any
That's our right.
consent agenda sign can be pulled.
Yeah, because this is really hard with technology and the way things are going. It's like you could have a movie on it for all I know. It just, what is right in the right place? It's hard. It's really hard to nail this thing down.
They do have the movies. Look at the AMVET sign.
And you have your.
It's very much a motion sign.
Yeah, it's hard. And then how do you control it? How do you put parameters around it to control it? I don't know. It's like one person may think one thing, somebody else may think another thing, and I guess life is a 4-3 vote. But I don't know. That's concern that I have. I would never want to see this an EMC come to us on consent, and I don't know. It's just a way to limit it. I don't know. And then what Chairman Johnson said too about the 2,500 square feet. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good size or what. But again, then we're putting limitations on it. I don't know what's right and what's not. But I guess if everything's coming in front of us, we can decide. But basically, you did say that for EMCs, it comes to us, and after that, that's it. And if we reject it, then they can always petition the board. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. At this point, I really have nothing further.
Commissioner Yednick.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious I'm not a fan of the EMCs. Mr. Styling could have been sitting in my chair and give my opinions. I think I agree. I don't like just restricting it to residential. I mean, when he was talking, it made me think of like you look at the Strip in Vegas, you know, and you could say that this is commercial up here, and if everybody decided, every existing business decided to put in an EMC, you could end up with the Strip in Vegas. And I would like to have a lot more control on them. I think the concept to me is very approvable, you know, that you got a church or a school that they need to say, you know, we're closed, we got parent-teacher week, this, whatever, you know. The messages change, and you don't want to have somebody up on a ladder putting up words. I can understand the concept, but I would like to have a lot more control over the aesthetics of the signs, not just the brightness and the hours, because like Commissioner Powers was saying, they're way beyond just text on a background. They're movie screens now. So I think I would rather, instead of just approving these small changes, take a deeper dive into EMCs. And I don't know if that's something that's within our purview to do, or how we would go about doing that over the long haul.
I think it is our intention, you know, as we already actually have a draft of the larger comprehensive amendment to the sign code. I think it is our intention, based on the nature of this discussion, to revisit the EMC section at that time.
But then, so then what would be if we approve this and it takes us 6 months, you know, obviously everybody's not going to run in and start getting the EMCs approved because they know that we're going to be more restrictive in the future, but why bother changing this language now until we just look at a more comprehensive change?
It was really more of a question of whether procedurally speaking, is a variation something that we'd like to encourage somebody to get versus making an adjustment to the sign code itself. We felt that in this case, the amendment to the sign code was the better of the two options. You know, we are, I think, several months away, as I said, from a comprehensive amendment to the code, but it is something that we've started working on.
But if if it was a variation, we'd have to go through and discuss it, and then we could vote on it, and then it still has to go to the board, right? Versus, it, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
But when you talk about what do you mean by a variation?
There's an individual church that wants to have an EMC.
Right, I understood that was part of what drove this.
So if the code isn't amended, they would have to apply for a variation to the code to be allowed to install an EMC. Okay. So,
but that variation would only be for that particular
just for that
petition,
one
correct?
Situation.
Yes.
yes. So the idea was because the code already allows all these other uses, and it seems like churches were inadvertently left off because they're very similar uses, that amending the code made the most sense.
Yeah, and Commissioner Kalis made that point. I agreed with it. You know, if you're going to allow it for these other group organizations, why would you restrict one? I agreed with that concept, but I guess, like I said, I'm not a fan of the signs. I think they've evolved into something a lot more than, you know, if we're going to try to be the arbiters of taste in the village, then I would like to have more control over it. So if that's down the line, I guess then I would rather deny the one. If we know one's right around the corner, then I would prefer to deny that one, make it a variation, get some conditions around it, and then look at the future controls that we're going to put around electronic message and be more comprehensive. That's all I have.
Mr. Kalis, your thoughts
Thank you. I do have thoughts.
on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing up what I said last meeting, because I still feel the same way. If we were to deny this for that reason, it still wouldn't make the changes that you desire anyways. So, like I said last time, it makes sense that this is lumped in with everything else that's similar. I also agree that, and I said it again, that we should address this and make changes and do a workshop or whatever that process is, because as Mr. Stylen brought up, a lot of great perspective and things that most of us probably agree with, or some things we don't, but that should be an open discussion. But I think that denying a church establishment just because you want to change the rest of it, it doesn't make sense. Like, you're denying the church the right to be part of this is not going to make the changes that you want to be made. So it's, you know, it should be all even playing field, and then change the playing field later through whatever process that is. That's my thought, and that's what makes most sense to me, because, you know.
Well, could I add one more thing I just thought about when you're talking?
I'll allow it.
I don't want to interrupt, so if you can come
Go
back.
ahead. No, that's all I really had to, I do agree with a lot of thoughts. I do want to see change, but yeah, so that's it.
Hang on, Commissioner Yednick, let's get through.
Sure.
Okay.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I agree. I don't think we can exclude the religious organizations at all without getting into, troubles. But we do have, we will be able to control it by zone or use or commercial, non-residential. Some villages, they have a limit on how often the message can be switched to another, or even a color. Some say like no video there. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with the, for example, with the Buffalo Grove High School. They have that board. It's blinking. It doesn't interfere with the traffic at all. There is actually no scientific, or there is no proof that the accident can happen because of it. Yeah, I agree. We don't want to make Las Vegas here, but I think it should be controlled on a different level instead of no, we don't want any religious centers to have any EMC boards. I think it should be controlled on a different level. That's all I have.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you. I also agree that adding the religious assembly portion is something that was long overdue, but I think the wording that you have here is broad enough to cover a lot of our problems at this point, but you're right, I think it is something that we could look into further.
And I agree with most of the comments that the religious assembly places should be added, but that we definitely need to look into this at a deeper level. You know, putting in things like flashing. Need to define just what we're talking about here.
There are
like strobes, you know.
There are some standards in the other part of the code, under the commercial district regulations. There are some standards for it.
And I know there's regulations on how fast the messages can change, although 2 weeks ago I had to point out that it was written one way in our packet and the reg said something else. But so for now, I guess we just need to make a motion on 2019-10 unless you, I'm sorry, I didn't get back to you.
Yeah, I guess I would ask or recommend, I like the language that was added at the end of the paragraph, but I would like to strike based on the proximity of the electronic message center to residential properties. I would prefer if that just read, and functions of the display may be further restricted subject to SCBA appearance review. Why residential? Why don't we just make the function subject to, you know, why wouldn't we have automatic dimmers on the commercial streets just as well as on the residential streets, just in general?
Neither of you?
Legally wise, it's fine to make that change.
It applies across the board.
It applies across the board. I think we were calling out the residential just because that was the commission's concern, but
Well, in a case like the Whitley,
yeah.
is that considered a residential property?
I don't believe so.
That is a good question. I don't want to give you a bad answer to it.
So to Mr. Yednick's point, that's probably better to
So
leave that on.
you can take into consideration those different types of properties, yeah.
Good
Or
point.
like near a hotel.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a residence, but not.
Can we just take a quick poll
Quick
on
poll
striking
on
the
striking
middle
that
of the
out?
sentence?
All right, does everybody understand what Commissioner Yednick is talking about?
It would read, the last sentence, the new language there would read, "And functions of the display may be further restricted, subject to SCBA appearance review."
Got it, got it.
So just basically striking out the reference
Got it.
to residential
Specific to-
properties.
got it. Yep.
And keeping it more
Broad. Okay.
Commissioner Blanova, you okay with that?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers? Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
And of course, Commissioner Yednick?
Yes.
And me, so yes.
Mr. Stylen wants a vote.
We, is it still open for Mr. Stylen?
It's up to you, Chair.
Mr. Stylen, come on. What have you got?
Just a simple question. You're going to allow something, a permitted use in a residential area, that's what's on the docket. Why wouldn't you want to add a provision like special use that neighbors have to be notified that something's coming so that they can participate in the audience? Otherwise, none of the neighbors will know until it shows up. Why not?
Okay, I go back to staff and legal on this one.
At this point, there is no special use procedure in the sign code that requires that. It would be something that if the commission directs us to on the larger amendment of the code, we can certainly look at it, but there is nothing of that nature right now in the sign code that would address that.
Okay, so when we do our big review, we can talk about that some more. Correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, do I hear a motion on 2019-10, the text amendment?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Yednick, Commissioner Kalis.
Commissioner Yednick,
Yes, and looking forward to the bigger review.
Commissioner Kalis,
Yes. Same.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
And this was based on the modified language, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Good point.
I wrote it as a condition. In the end, we'll just change the motion.
And this will go to the board for their okay as well, so
That's correct.
they may change it again. All right, next up, this will be a real quick one. Docket number 2019-12, petition to be continued to June 13th for Forever Dance Fitness LLC, 15 North Elmhurst Road, special use for recreational and instructional facility. Mr. Jennings, what's the update on this one?
Still just a matter of public notice requirements.
So we'll try them again next month. So I need a motion to continue to June 13th, 2019.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Approval of minutes for April 25th, 2019, including findings for docket number 2019 8AB. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Kalis, Commissioner Powers, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Other business. We'll start with Mr. Jennings, because he looks busiest right now.
Thanks for your patience tonight. I'm a little rusty, but I think we made it. So thanks for your patience.
Mallory, anything from you?
Nothing from me.
All right. Commissioner Creech, let's start down there.
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Yednick.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Blanova.
Thank you. I just want to bring back the a subject from last meeting and the meeting before, that about instead of putting the wooden fence, put mesh. Every time we have a debate about that, just drive on the Wheeling Road. There is a eyesore there. It's rusty, and I'm not even sure if anything gonna be done with it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Yes, I have something. I want to let my fellow commissioners know that this morning I sent a letter of resignation to President Horker. My last day will be the end of my current term, which is the end of June. A lot of stuff is going on at work with me and stuff like that. I just need the time. I'm not able to put in the work that I need to do, I feel, to continue in this position. So I will be, my last meeting will be the end of June. So just to let everybody know. So somebody should vote, somebody should be wanting to be secretary eventually.
That would be me.
That's it.
That's all the news?
Is secretary an appointed?
No.
Thing, not like, because
us.
president or chairman is.
Right.
By the board.
Right.
But the secretary is by us.
As is the chairperson pro tem, correct?
That's correct.
And the secretary pro tem.
Okay.
Oh, you said the chairperson is appointed by us? or-
No, chairperson pro tem. The chairman is appointed by the.
And we
village
already,
president.
I suppose, a public announcement that we need someone to fill a seat currently, right? We have a
Yes,
seventh
so now
seat
we're-
available.
We are going to have 2 openings, so.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
Are we in risk of getting below a legal quorum or anything?
But it certainly makes it a little bit more difficult.
It makes it difficult if anyone's missing,
Yeah.
but we,
You have to have at least 5 or 4?
4.
Correct?
4, okay.
4. We have to have 4, so.
Okay, so we're down to 5.
Well, not yet.
Not yet, end of June.
Hey, you said the
We got the
end of June?
Yep.
is-
Thank you for the,
The term is
Heads up.
July? Okay. So you'll still be hanging around for a while. Next meeting, Andrew, is actually a
a joint meeting.
group joint meeting. Do you have any details on that?
Not yet. Not yet. It will be,
Well,
are you
looking
saying
forward
in
to it.
terms of the timing? It will be during your regularly scheduled time.
Okay, our regularly scheduled time, but it will most likely be at the Public Works
Typically,
building.
they're at Public Works, and that is our plan this time.
Do we have an agenda? or-
We are working on the agenda. We'll be prepared for the meeting.
Okay. Ron, anything from fire department? Anything from engineering?
Nope, not tonight.
All right. Then.
How's the bridge going?
It's moving along. They started pouring the concrete, I guess the footings out there. So I'm not as intimately involved with that project as I would like to be. I got a bunch of other stuff going on, but our village engineer, John Tack's out there pretty much every day. So it's moving along.
Good, good. Thank you.
How's the Whitley on occupancy?
I still think there's some requirements from engineering that they have yet to complete. So it's moving slowly. So.
I know that. All right, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.